An unforgettable act of courage beneath the waves. The South Pacific stretched endlessly, a shimmering quilt of blue and silver under the early morning sun. To the untrained eye, it was a calm, empty expanse. But beneath its glassy surface lay a hidden kingdom, alive, vibrant, and ancient. Deep below, coral reefs sprawled like underwater cities. Colorful fish darted between craggy coral towers, and the currents whispered through anemone forests like lullabies. Here, among the silent shadows and glowing life, a story began, one that no human could have predicted. A young green sea turtle, no more than a year old, floated uncertainly near the edge of the reef. Her name would never be known to people, but in her short life, she'd already survived more than most of her kind. Swept away from her nesting beach by a strong current, separated from her clutch mates, and tossed into the open ocean, she'd been lucky just to find this reef. But now, she was in trouble again. Her front flipper had become tangled in a mess of ghost netting, discarded fishing gear left to haunt the sea. The net had wrapped tight overnight, invisible in the dark water. The more she struggled, the more it tightened. Now, weak and scared, she drifted helplessly, unable to dive or flee. Nearby, schools of parrotfish continued to nibble at the coral. A few curious reef sharks circled lazily. No one came to help. No one dared. The reef had its own rules. Predators preyed. The wounded were left behind. That is, until the silence was broken. From the far end of the reef, an immense shape approached. It was a manta ray. But not just any manta, a giant, nearly 7 meters across, known to the local researchers as Kaya, or the Sentinel. She was old, perhaps over 50, her white back speckled with black spots like constellations, and her wingtips scarred from old battles. Kaya had been sighted many times before. Scientists believed she returned to this reef each year to feed, perhaps to rest. But there were rumors among divers, whispers that this particular manta had a strange tendency to appear when other sea creatures were in danger. No one knew if it was true. Until that day. Kaya glided closer to the tangled turtle, her great wings beating slowly like waves of silk. Mantas, despite their size, were harmless filter feeders. But Kaya radiated a strange kind of authority. She hovered over the turtle for several long moments, as if analyzing the situation. And then, something astonishing happened. Kaya began to circle. Her powerful body traced a perfect ring around the trapped turtle, stirring up sand and silt. She circled again, slower this time, then stopped and lifted her wings slightly. From the shadows of the reef, another creature appeared. A bottlenose dolphin. And then another. And another. Within moments, a whole pod had gathered. The dolphin pod wasn't native to this reef. In fact, they had never been seen this far out. But somehow, they had followed Kaya, or responded to her signals. The pod's matriarch, an older female with a torn dorsal fin, swam beside Kaya and made several sharp clicks and whistles. To the researchers watching from their anchored vessel above, unaware of the drama unfolding beneath them, this moment would later be pieced together from drone footage and underwater hydrophone recordings. But the truth of it was only fully known to the ocean. 2 younger dolphins dove toward the turtle. Gently, cautiously, they nuzzled her tangled flipper. The ghost net shifted, but didn't loosen. The turtle panicked, trying to flee, and the effort caused her to twist dangerously. She was drowning. Suddenly, Kaya rose vertically in the water and slammed her wing downward, sending a burst of current through the reef. The jolt sent the net fluttering, loosening its grip just enough. The dolphin seized the chance. One bit down on a loose end. Another pulled the net outward. Bit by bit, the ghost net began to unravel. It took 10 agonizing minutes. The turtle remained still, too weak to fight, too tired to understand what was happening. And then, freedom. The last thread slipped free, and she shot upward instinctively, breaking the surface with a desperate gasp of air. Above, the researchers saw the splash. One grabbed binoculars. "Was that a turtle?" someone asked. "Out here." Moments later, Kaya rose beneath the turtle, lifting her like a platform. It was the only time such a moment was ever witnessed. She held her aloft, just enough for the turtle to breathe and rest, for several minutes. Then, with a slow sweep of her wings, Kaya descended back into the deep. But the story didn't end there. As the researchers reviewed the underwater recordings later, they discovered more. Kaya had encountered similar scenes before. The footage, collected over 5 years, showed her responding to distressed stingrays, an entangled dugong, and even a sick reef shark left floating upside down. In every case, she'd approached, hovered, and circled, never fleeing, always observing. Her behavior defied everything scientists thought they knew about manta rays. They were supposed to be solitary, non-social, non-intervening. And yet, here was Kaya, time and time again, defying the rules of nature. The turtle, meanwhile, was rescued by the research team. They tracked her for several weeks. She recovered, was tagged, and eventually swam on, disappearing into the great blue as quietly as she had come. The footage of Kaya's rescue made global headlines. Marine biologists were stunned. The public was enchanted. Conservation groups used the story to launch massive campaigns to combat ghost nets. Thousands of divers signed pledges to remove ocean trash. Donations poured in. Entire coastlines were cleaned. Satellite buoys were installed to track illegal net dumping. Kaya's story had done something extraordinary. It made the world care. In time, researchers returned to the reef, hoping to find her again. But she didn't come. Days passed. Then weeks. Some feared she'd died. Others believed she'd moved on. And then, almost 1 year to the day later, she returned. Gliding through the reef as if she had never left. Older, slower, but still powerful. She paused at the spot where the turtle had once been tangled. Hovered. Circled. Then vanished into the deep. Somewhere in the silence of the reef, Kaya, the sentinel, still watches. Not because she has to. But because in a world where survival often means indifference, she chose to care. And in doing so, she reminded humanity of the silent, sacred bond that ties all living beings together, across species, across oceans, across time. We're not alone. Not really. Because sometimes, even in the vastest corners of the sea, someone is watching. Someone is willing to help.